without further ado, I'll hand over to David and Mark to take it from here.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, and hope you can all hear me okay. Thanks so much for joining. It's great to have so many people here on a Friday lunchtime. So very pleased that you've all managed to find time to join us. And thank you to Barry, Chelsea, and the team at London CTOs for inviting us. One thing we're asking throughout is if you can ask questions on the chat, that would be really useful. We've left some time at the end to really get into the detail, and I think we'll get a lot out of the conversations at the end. So if you can try and do that, that would be great. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mark, who's the founder of something called Claroview, to take us through today's subject. But I'm David. I work on the UK side of the business, but lovely to meet you all. But let's hear from Mark straight away.
Thank you, David. Yeah, I'll introduce myself in a moment in a slide that provides some background. But we're talking about agentic software engineering and how to govern that at scale. The work I'm presenting today and the product that I've built is it's a result of a research project I've done at a large multinational in Denmark that took over a competitor from Germany, and the management saw themselves with the challenge of having to understand and hundreds of applications and to pick between those the ones that would be taken into the future. So to really consolidate at a large scale. That's the context, and that's what I'll be talking around. Many things are changing these days as a result of AI, and how do you govern that? It turned out that the toolset that I've developed is also very useful there. To set the scene a little bit, IT is still quite hard. This is a graph that shows the service problems on different IT services that you very well know. This is from, I think took this 2 days ago. And you can ask yourself, has something changed since AI became more part of how systems are developed? And actually there's reason to believe this is the case. This is an article from the Financial Times, where that discusses that they have seen an increase in incidents, and that actually, as a result of those incidents, junior engineers are no longer allowed to bring changes that are developed using AI to production. Right, so there's a trend of incidents in recent months that's characterized by a high blast radius, and that mostly is attributed to Gen AI assisted changes. So that's a little bit of context. Let me tell you about myself. I have a background in systems engineering and policy analysis. I worked with Accenture for about 5 years, building enterprise information systems, and I was always an angry young man. I wanted to improve the environment, improve systems. That led me to go into quality consulting. So I've been analyzing many systems over almost 2 decades. I've seen really a lot of value destroyed, but I've also supported many organizations towards high quality software portfolios. I've moved to Denmark as part of work for one of the companies that I worked for, and I've been an independent consultant for a couple of years. And I started Claroview last year to help leaders understand the hidden parts, the hidden digital parts of an organization. And those are a couple of things that I'll introduce. The things that I've seen go wrong are related to software applications and portfolio quality, to enterprise architecture models that are not applied in proper way, and to SharePoint repositories, something that no doubt some of you may know. And how do you keep those environments clean and ready for both employees and AI to work with, right? Your roadmap says innovation, but your code base says maintenance. And with Claroview, I want to show where those challenges are and how to close that gap. Does that make sense? Good. So software quality, that still matters, is what I would like to propose. Software quality is a difficult topic. Here you see different, with an analogy, different levels of quality. On the left side, the quality is obviously not good. It's difficult to understand, difficult to work with. On the right side, something looks of very high quality, and there are things in the middle. How do we look at these? How do we look at the applications that organizations deal with every day? We'd like to do a quick poll with you, and we'll look at the results at the end of the presentation to see where you are and to see how relevant this would be for you. So, first question is to see how the quality of your key applications is perceived by your peers and maybe by other stakeholders, and then to understand the top priority for you and your organization, and to understand if the quality of the application portfolio has changed. So if you could do me a favor and quickly scan the QR code and answer these 3 questions.
The link's also in the chat if you're having problems getting onto it.
Is it working well? Yes. Have you been able to answer? I see some nods. Yes. Okay,
some
great.
Nods and thumbs up.
Good. Okay, let me then continue with some of the problems that we see. This is maybe the most difficult slide. This explains. This shows many data points that show the quality of software, the maintainability here on the vertical axis, plotted against the size of systems. So this is a large cloud that shows many open source portfolios, the ones you see on the right. And it's a way of measuring quality of applications. And if you do that, if you measure within organizations or open source systems, you'll discover that not all existing systems are of good quality, right? And this is a problem to people that need to maintain these applications, but also to AI, right? Because if quality is lower, then it's also more difficult for AI to maintain and to execute changes in a flawless way, right? So on top here, you see these applications, they are small and of good quality. And down here, you see the applications that are large and of poor quality. This is a product that I have built based on the ideas from this book, company I used to work at. And I've taken these measurements using an open source tool called Socrates that I would like to advertise. But I've aggregated these measurement results to this cloud that shows the quality in perspective, you can say. And at this large client that I worked at the last year, which is called DSV, a large Danish multinational, we analyzed hundreds of systems and put those in perspective of the systems that came in from Schenker, the German competitor that they took over. And they actually used this together with, of course, all kinds of other information to decide on the future landscapes. So this is one challenge, an existing challenge. Not all the existing systems are of good technical quality. Now, what about AI? Right? If you start to measure systems that were generated by AI or that were generated that are maintained by AI, you get into some very interesting, to see some very interesting things. I've brought two examples here. One is the C compiler that was created by Anthropic, the company that makes Claude code based on in a technology called Rust. So they took the existing C compiler and asked Claude Code to re-implement it in Rust, a modern technology. And you get an application that's fairly large, but of sub-average quality, right? The second example is the famous OpenClaw bot that has become popular the last couple of months, which allows you to run a bot on your own computer to schedule meetings, to run all kinds of tasks. It was created by a German gentleman who lives in the USA. Has anyone heard of OpenClaw? Okay, it was actually sold for, I think, around $1 billion to OpenAI. That's where the gentleman works now. And if you look at the quality, it's really below average, right? This is not something that any team in an organization can take responsibility for and bring into production, right? It's really a challenge. So without proper guidance, GenAI does not deliver good maintainability. Now, I took this measurement on early February, and I thought, okay, let's measure it again and see what happened, right? And this is what, well, the quality came down, right? And that is of concern, right? So if you're responsible for a large portfolio of applications, and this is what happens with the quality of your systems, that is a challenge. Let me quickly, to make it live a little bit more, show you a demo of what I'm talking about. So I'll switch here. You can see my screen now, right? Yeah. Okay, good. So what we see now are our specific repositories that have been measured for this specific organization that we're looking at, which is in our demo environment. And you see that they are presented against the backdrop of the benchmark that contains all the open source systems. And these are the latest snapshots for a number of repositories. And one of them is OpenClaw, right? And this is one from, I believe, from Netflix. And this is a popular technical framework from the Java world called Spring. These are some example applications that I've analyzed. If you click this data point for OpenClaw, right, we go to the underlying measurement results. This is the open source tool that I mentioned that shows all the measurements, results, and statistics for different system properties, like the size of files, how much duplication there is, how the units are distributed in size, and all these things are relevant towards maintainability. But this all is a very technical dashboard that's difficult to interpret and difficult to discuss at management level. So this is usually left to the engineers. But the results from these dashboards are not always brought up to management level, right? Does it make sense? So if you go to this dashboard, you can, with a couple of clicks, you can go down to where the most complex code is, right? You can just see here for TypeScript, it's in red here, and then you can click, and then you see where very complex code is, right? And that can then be discussed and validated with the teams. Yes, so let's take a look at what happened to OpenClaw. See here. Oh, I just need to move it down a little bit. Yes. Let's look at the trends. And let's look at repository. And then we see here, if we zoom into to April of this year, we see for the couple of data points that indeed OpenClaw just has only been declining, right? And of course, here we see all the other data points. So how can we use this tooling to get a grip on what is happening in the portfolio and to be in control going forward? Well, I think you need a couple of things. So first of all, you need to measure and monitor the maintainability and other key KPIs over time, right? This is again an example from what we've just seen. Here we see a couple of applications. The orange one is an open source ERP system that started out fairly poorly and that never became any better, right? This application in green is a well-known framework in the Java world, as I said, and that's well maintained and the quality stays more or less stable. But this is an application that started out okay here, but then over time it declined in quality, and that is an issue, right? What do you do with that? Secondly, you need to support teams that need help, right? This graph is a bit more complicated. Here I've plotted the change in maintainability against the change in volume to really know, okay, which are the repositories where quality is declining while the amount of code is growing. And you see here that these are the teams that need help, that need a hand, and maybe an investigation is needed why those teams are struggling. And of course, the third component of what you would need to govern and understand how things are moving with the development teams and the agentic AI that's applied is governance of the environment as a whole. So we propose a governance metric where you say, okay, we measure the onboarding, how many applications have been onboarded onto the platform, whether metadata has been added, and whether that's fresh, and whether the measurement scope of all the repositories is confirmed. And you can see here, this is still an indication that, of course, the governance increases over time. And that makes, if you then follow the quality and trends of the applications, that makes a lot of sense and brings control. Any questions thus far, David?
None on the chat so far, but please, if you do have one, please drop it on the chat. It'd be great to hear from you.
So there are many things changing this time. I made a slide to discuss to give some of our perspective, the things that I'm seeing in my environment, that I've discussed with people around me. AI accelerates a lot, right? And it changes many things. For one, it could change the delivery timelines and economics because much smaller teams can deliver changes and systems. But it also impacts the development process. It impacts how activities are distributed when they are distributed not between team members, but we're using AI. And that has impact on the ideal team size, where before an ideal team size would be around 7-8 people, right? No more than 2 pizzas could feed. Maybe that amount has come down to 2 or 3, right? Where one business expert together with one technical expert and a number of AI agents can deliver whole systems together. And of course, that has impact on the roles, skills, and tool set required. So we see many changes. And the bottleneck in making changes has shifted from coding, that used to take the most time, and to testing, to feeding the AI with requirements and specifications and reviewing the results. So as we've just seen, AI does not deliver good quality out of the box. I'm curious, has any of you seen this in your organization where you've worked with AI? Have any of you already seen negative effects
see anybody coming off mic, Mark, but we have
Okay.
got some questions now in the chat, so we can come to those whenever you're ready.
Yes, let's see. Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're seeing is that successful teams, they use the extra bandwidth that they now have and the extra development power that AI brings to reduce technical debt and to increase the quality frameworks and scaffolds that they have to make applications more stable and the development process more stable. But we still do not see that a lot of these insights are brought up to executive level. Let's see. Maybe it's a good moment to discuss, to take some questions and then look at the poll results.
Sure. So we've got a few questions in now. First one's from Rob Reed. Hello, Rob, by the way. I can see you hovering there. So he's asked, what examples do we have of repos orgs where agentic AI is in use, the quality is increasing, and what's different about those examples? He mentions that Pete, the OpenClaw founder, is a person who doesn't read his own code, runs fast, breaks things, and is the first mover, which is his mantra effectively.
Right, yes. So let me go back here. I think at the moment, I have a couple of students who are using this tooling to do research and understand what the impact is of the use of AI on open source systems, and to see for which open source systems the quality is declining, for which the quality is increasing. But still early days. There's not a lot of data at the moment that shows this. I think one of the things that we're learning is that it does make sense to measure and to take the measurement results in and as feedback to where the system should be moving, right? Mr. Peter Steinberger, the author of OpenClaw, exactly doesn't look at the code, and for now, I think he gets away with it because his tooling is interesting enough, and he breaks a couple of things along the way. But that is not acceptable for organizations. So they need a different approach, right? They need more guardrails, more scaffolding to understand that the quality that AI delivers as changes are made only increases. Now, if that is the assumption of or what you want, how do you then measure that quality, right? That becomes a question.
Good. Thank you, Mark. Second question is from Cheryl. How is the data populated and who's responsible for it? I presume she means the data populated into Claroview and for assessment.
Yeah, right? That's what I meant. Yeah. Probably wasn't very clear. Yeah, how's it get in there?
Yes. So as I said, the analysis that we've just seen, the report is done using an open source tool, and the results can be uploaded into a portal to become a dot on the diagram here, right? So that can be done on a regular basis from a company. So for instance, every week at the end of, or every 2 weeks at the end of a sprint, and then we can plot a trend line. It can also be done in a fully automatically, right? Where we just point at the Git repository and do the analysis automatically every week.
Does that answer your question, Cheryl? Good, thank you. So one from Simon Ince as well. Don't know if you want to come off mute, Simon. That was good, Cheryl, to get people off mute. Go on, Simon.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. I guess listening to the definition of maintainability, historically, maintainability has all been about how quickly can you get a new engineer on your team up to speed with how the code works and make changes without worrying that they're just going to break everything because they don't understand the systems. But there's an argument that as more and more of that maintenance can be done by AI, do we actually care? And I know I'm being a little bit pokey there, but like it is changing the equation, right?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that is fair. If changes can be made very quickly, do we still need to care about good maintainability, right? And I would say maybe not to the full extent that you need all applications to be of excellent quality or would like to be of excellent quality, but an AI that needs to work in a good application, right? An application that is of good quality, in around 4 or 5, can much more easily find its way and make the changes much more easily. Let me give you a little bit more perspective. If we go to just a second, where's my mouse? Oh yeah, there we are. The maintainability score that we see here for this particular system, it's 3.5. It is a weighted average of several other scores. So it takes into account the duplication, the test ratio, the file size distribution, the unit size distribution, and the complexity distribution. So if we switch from the overall average of maintainability to duplication, right, we can see an interesting pattern, right? We see that for the Spring applications, the duplication is more or less good, scores well. Same actually for OpenClaw. That is something that is the AI or Peter Steinberger has well under control, but not for this application, right? For this application, the duplication is much higher. Now let's look at the test ratio. That scores fairly well, right? If an application has no tests, it would of course score 0.5 or 0.7. All that goes well here. Let's look at the file size distribution. That's also fairly good. I think the challenge is in unit size here for OpenClaw, right? So the units, the methods and the functions that are generated are typically too long and too complex. Now, back to your question, how big of a problem is it, right? If you cannot, if you as a team, let me say it like this. I think there's always a team that is in the end responsible for the system and for bringing it live, right? And if you have an application with a lot of complex code, as we see here in OpenClaw, you cannot prove or state that you are certain with a certain amount of certainty that it will work without problems, right? So you need to have a lot of automated tests around it, automated integration, product tests, which is of course more expensive. So I would argue that as long as people remain responsible and teams remain responsible, it is important to have a good maintainability.
Good, thank you, Mark. Hopefully that answers your question, Simon, or at least to a degree. Ruth, let's come to you. Ruth Wall, I don't know if you're happy to, or I can read out the question. You go.
Hi.
Hi.
Some of this looks very similar to the kind of code quality analysis you get from a tool like Sneak or Sonar. So what makes this specifically good for the Gen AI world that you wouldn't get from one of those traditional code quality tools?
So I'm not sure if there is so what I focus on with this platform is indeed it measures the basic sub-characteristics of maintainability and system properties that are relevant, and I want to put those in business context, right? So to link the data that we see with business information like the business owner, the service level, whether it is a crown jewel. So for a large amount of applications in a portfolio, you can quickly get an overview of where things are, right? Which applications belong to which business division. So it is not a tool that focuses on measuring as many technical aspects as possible, right? It's more focused on aggregating it and supporting reporting and decision making in for non-technical stakeholders and management, because there are many tools that measure things around source code, but you quickly get overwhelmed by those measurement results. And if you turn on some of those tools for even a mid-size application, you get 20,000 violations of 350 different categories, and you very soon will not know anymore where to start or what to look at. So the idea with this tool is to aggregate that into a single score and to use that as a basis for the conversation.
Good, thank you, Ruth. Hopefully that answered. Trying to read your face. You're, yes, shaking your head somewhat. We can come back to that, don't worry. Marco's added a YouTube link on the chat as well, which I think is just for information, Marco, but please come off mute and let me know if that was also linked to a question. Nick's asked a question as well. Nick, do you want to come off mute and just ask the question?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of felt like a slightly narrower version of Simon's question, really. That I noticed, like in one of the metrics around maintainability, you had things like how much of the code was kind of older than X months. And I was kind of thinking whether actually some of these measures of maintainability are actually different if something's been kind of fully vibe engineered versus it's like an older product that still has humans maintaining it or has humans working on it. And I guess everything's kind of like somewhere on that spectrum in between, and whether you think about the kind of measures of maintainability for AI as any different to the measures of maintainability for people.
Yeah, so as I said before, there's not a lot of data yet to measure the impact or the consequences of AI agents working on systems that have been in development and maintenance for 10 plus years, like so really older code bases. We're trying to starting to do those measurements. But the data is just not there yet, and I'm sure that the quality model will be refined, and I'm discussing with different people how maybe the different aspects should be weighed differently, or whether there are other aspects that we should be taken into consideration. One of the things I'll be adding soon is a security and vulnerability measurements, right? So that can be taken into account. That is, of course, key. I'll be adding architectural compliance, right? Whether the implementation actually meets the intended design of an application. That is also something that really helps AI if it knows what the design should be, and then can work from that in working with the implementation. So I think the field is very much in flux at the moment.
Good, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I can see another question from Cheryl about what's the usual customer size, startup, scale up, or mid-market?
It's mostly organizations that have a larger amount of applications, right? So CIO, CTO teams that have a couple of dozens of applications, have ongoing transformation to renew applications, to phase in, phase out, that need to understand what is the quality, how are things moving, or that need to want to understand which supplier is delivering good quality. Are we getting value for money? Is an application that we see in the market, is that a good potentially good application for us, like a due diligence context? That is where these types of technologies are used.
Good, thank you, Mark. And we've got a couple more questions. One from Krishna. Can we give this data and ask AI to improve the code from this data directly? Which is a very good question, Krishna. Sorry, I can't see you on screen, so I didn't see if you were able to speak. Oh, you're there. Hello, sorry. But yeah, can we use this data and just give it to AI and then get it to improve?
Yes, that is definitely possible. So if I jump back to the detailed measurement results, right, and we go, for instance, to this list of this duplication metric, I need to hang on. Just give me a second to log in. Right, just a second. I think here, yeah, that works. So what we see here are we see the top list of duplicates, right? So we can just take this top list and take the top 10 or the top 20 and have a conversation with AI and say, look, we would like to resolve this. Now, you can brute force your way and reduce the duplication like that. But maybe it's smart to ask, okay, why is there duplication between two components, right? More than between other components, right? And based on that, you can try to, you can understand more about the architecture, about the intended architecture, where the team maybe was unable to follow or did not follow, and then to use that to your advantage in the conversation with AI and in improving the system. So things can be done partly automatically, but it's not guaranteed to deliver a flawless application.
And the follow on from that question, actually from Garrison, I can see, I don't know whether you want to come off mute, Garrison, but it's quite a straightforward one. Is there an MCP wrapper so that we can make it easier to integrate the work into our workflows? Sorry, Garrison, I saw you come off mute. I've done it anyway.
No worries. Yeah, the question was really, it seemed like if you're trying to pull this into an agentic workflow, that having it available through MCP would make it easier to, instead of having to navigate to the web page and copy paste, the top 10 or 20 longest duplicates, just have that as a method that you could call me like, hey, show me where the duplicates are, and then tell your agent, hey, fix this.
Yeah. Now that's there's not such a wrapper from the platform that I have built, but the measurement results are to a developer easily available locally, right? They can just run a single command and then find the measurement results in a subdirectory. I want to bridge the gap between the developers and leadership and the leadership agenda, where a lot of applications and in the portfolio need to be reviewed and looked at the same time.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Garrison. I think that's all the questions for now. Please continue, Mark, but please drop any more on there if you have any, or put your hand up or come off mute and give us a shout. That'd be great.
Shall we take a look at the poll results?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can go there. Okay. So the first question was, how do C-level executives perceive the quality of your most critical business applications? 0% for excellent, most of them good. That is great news. 73%, 23% fair, and 5% only one answer poor. Well, that's good to know. Where is the focus? It's mostly on new features. 17 votes for new features, 1 for operational stability, 2 for cost reduction, and 2 for compliance. And then how has the quality changed of the application portfolio? Improved 59, 60%. No significant change, 36%, and declined 5%. Of course, the question is, how do you know? Right? Is that a gut feeling or a hunch, or is there a substantiated measurement result under that? Garrison, do you have any metrics to to substantiate, for instance?
So our team uses SonarQube.
Yeah.
And so we keep a running view of kind of overall quality, quality maintainability, security. And it's good when some of those lines go up and good when some go down.
Yes. Yeah. SonarQube is a well-known enterprise solution for measuring and tracking quality, and it measures many violations, many types of violations. I've seen it also in teams that I've reviewed at DSV. There are a couple of challenges which I saw is that every team is able to set, if you're not careful, to set their own quality standards, right? So if you use SonarQube, you need to make sure that you roll out the same quality yardstick for all teams to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And there was a team that by SonarQube standard thought they were doing quite well. I believe it was in the A range, right? Let me just jump back to give you a perspective. This slide here. There was a team that was, they thought they were doing quite well. They were in the A range, which would translate to that good to excellent, right? But they were actually fairly average. So, and what we know from research is that the teams that have an application that is good or excellent, they have a much higher productivity. Right? There's really a productivity bonus. So it benefits. It's beneficial to fine tune and take a careful look at the quality yardstick that's used. Thank you. Is there anyone else who has who can tell how they are measuring that the application portfolio quality improved? Simon, is that something that you?
Yeah, similar tools, but also just things like production incident rates and things like that. So we have SonarQube and various security scanning tools and things like that. But the main one is probably actually incident rates that I look at. Yeah, good point, Andorra.
Good. Let's see. I'll just go back to my slides. Yeah, this is a summarizing slide. So what is needed to govern software engineering or agentic software engineering at scale? Well, you need to measure and monitor for KPIs on a regular basis, right? And you need to intervene when necessary. As I've just shown, if the quality declines for certain applications, you want to have a talk with the team, see if a new junior developer on the team did not understand what the quality standards were before. Nowadays, you may want to tune how the AI is used, right? And of course, you want to make sure that you increase the scope of what you measure and understand. And then you can report to the executive team if you keep it brief and interesting, which is a challenge in itself, right, for non-technical people. Where am I with? Are we with Claroview? So I created this at while working for a very large Danish company. It proved very beneficial there to support the post-merger discussion about which applications to go with. We want to bring it to more customers, among other in the UK. There are different ways that it can work. Measurements can be done locally and then upload to the cloud only for scoring, or it can be fully analyzed in the cloud. That is a self-service model. And if you need help, or if both with getting started with doing analysis or with reports or regular reporting, we offer that as well.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
I've got a couple more. Well, there's a couple of statements. Rob Reed said he had no code 5 months ago, so it can only improve, which is probably an interesting point. But Ruth said that actually no code is the most reliable kind of code. So
I fully agree.
Some contrasting views there. But yeah, a few people say thank you. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Very much look forward to hearing from any of you that would be interested in talking more about us. As Mark said, we've just come into the UK market. So very happy to have an introduction call, just talk through your challenges and listen to your needs and try and help you where we can. But really, we wanted to talk to you about the new product that Mark's built and really get your input. And thanks so much for your questions. Some challenging questions, but some good ones. Some very good ones. And yeah, we're here if you would like to speak to us in more detail. But thanks very much for tuning in on Friday.